Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Friday's Daily Devotion. I'm Linda Black from South Canyon Lutheran Church, and I'm really glad to be with you today. I am starting a 4-week look at Hallowed. Um, Hallowed, Hallowed. And the meaning of that is to keep holy, to set apart. So I'm going to start with a story from Exodus today. It's from the 3rd chapter of Exodus, beginning with the first verse. Moses was keeping the flock of his father-in-law, Jethro, the priest of Midian, and he led his flock beyond the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. And there the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire out of a bush. He looked, and the bush was blazing, yet it was not consumed. And then Moses said, I must turn aside and look at this great sight and see why the bush is not burned up. And when the Lord saw that he had turned aside to see, God called to him out of the bush, and Moses, Moses, and he said, Here I am. And then he said, Come no closer. Remove the sandals from your feet, for the place on which you are standing is holy ground. He said further, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look at God. And then the Lord said, I have observed the misery of my people who are in Egypt, and I have heard their cry on account of their taskmasters. Indeed, I know their sufferings, and I have come down to deliver them from the Egyptians and to bring them up out of that land to a good and broad land, a land flowing with milk and honey, to the country of the Canaanites, the Hittites, and the Jebusites. The cry of the Israelites has now come to me. I have also seen how the Egyptians oppress them. So come, I will send you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. But Moses said to God, Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt? And God said, I will be with you. Now I'm starting off this look at Hallowed with a very familiar story. It's familiar not only because it's a familiar one in the Bible that we read and we learn about in Sunday school, but it's also made popular with that blockbuster movie, The Ten Commandments, and then again from DreamWorks, um, The Prince of Egypt. I think that's the name of it. Yes, The Prince of Egypt, the animated movie. And in this encounter, God tells Moses that he is on holy ground. He says, Remove your sandals because you are on holy ground. And this is not because the ground that he's standing on there is any more special than the ground anywhere else. I don't think that's what God is meaning there. But it's because of what God is going to do, what God is planning to do right there in that space, in that time, and with that person, Moses. God's activity is not restricted to a certain place. That's not what that holy ground means. Holiness, I think if we think about it, is God's presence showing up amongst us, revealing itself and proclaiming life and healing and restoration for all of us. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about Moses. Earlier in Exodus, back in chapter 2, Moses refers to himself as an alien in a foreign land. And if you really think about it, Moses probably thinks about himself as not really having a home. So let's look at where Moses has come from. He was born to a Hebrew woman who gave him up to save him, and then was adopted by Pharaoh's daughter. So he was a Hebrew who was given an Egyptian name, raised as an Egyptian, and then as an adult, he flees from Egypt because he killed an Egyptian who was torturing the Hebrews. And now he marries a woman in a foreign land and becomes a shepherd. And that's where this story is today. So if you think about it, Moses is somebody who doesn't have a land, yet God is calling him. And what we find here is not that God is out there, but God comes here to where Moses is. Moses is out in the wilderness with his flock, and that's where God comes. And God calls him because maybe that's not where Moses should be. And God is saying, Moses, I need you to do this for me. And then we hear Moses question the call. Who am I to do this, to talk to Pharaoh like this? And God says, I will be with you. I think it's important for us to remember that no matter where we are, God comes to us. We don't have to find God. God comes to us, calling us and proclaiming new life, healing, and restoration for all of us. And to that I say, thanks be to God. Amen. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone.